guys? Milos here. So, kind of bad news for the NBA. Cade Cunningham, a superstar for the Detroit Pistons, has been diagnosed with a collapsed lung in his left lung, more specifically. He'll be evaluated in the next 2 weeks. At minimum, he's going to be out for 2 weeks, but it's possible that he can be out for months. There's cases of the collapsed lung where if it's a minor case, it's like 1 to 2 weeks. But if it's a more serious case, it's going to take a couple months, several months is what I've seen so far about it. And there hasn't been a lot of examples of NBA players going through this injury. So I'm not sure which NBA players have gone through it and which have recovered the fastest or the longest. So I don't have a sample size of how long it takes for an NBA player more specifically to recover from it. But I do know it's going to put him out for at least weeks. And that puts him in danger of winning awards like All NBA, MVP, just any kind of awards. I think he's in danger of, not getting them. And honestly, I'm pretty sure he won't make it because I know he's played around 61 games and the threshold to get those awards is 65 plus. He's not going to get any of those awards. So it's kind of a shame to see one of the best players in the NBA, if not top 7. He's been one of the best players all season, and he's been leading his team to be the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. So the fact that a player like this is not going to be able to be recognized, it's a shame to see. You have to question, is this rule, do we need to continue with this 65 game rule? Because if we're not going to see the best players get rewarded, understand, if they miss over half the season, I get maybe not give them the reward. You can't give a guy that's made 50 games the MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, or even an All-NBA spot. But I do believe if they make that 60 game threshold, they've made over, half the games, played a third of the season probably. You got to reward those guys because Cade Cunningham, if you've been watching the NBA all season, you know that he's been one of the best players in the NBA by far. Again, I think it's a shame. I think the NBA kind of needs to change the rule for that. What this does to the Pistons are kind of in trouble because they were starting to gear up for the playoffs, and now you don't have your best player, the guy that was running the offense. And the Pistons don't really have another player that can run the offense like Cade Cunningham, and that's been their biggest flaw this season. They've been a defensive level team, a top tier defensive level team, but they haven't been the best offensive team. Literally, the only kind of offense they get is through Cade Cunningham. So there's not another guy that can really come in and run the offense as well as Cade, or even similar to a level. They can be in trouble of losing the number 1 seed. I know they're 3 games ahead of the Celtics. The Celtics have a real shot of catching that if the Pistons start to lose games. 1, can lose their seeding, which is bad for them. 2, they don't have another offensive threat that's as good as Cade. And you don't need him to be at the same level as Cade, but there's not really a guy you can point to on this team that can keep the team afloat offensively. So the Pistons are in trouble in that sense. Defensively, they don't lose their identity, but again, offensively, it's going to be hard for them to score, especially when they don't have Cade, because it was already a trouble for them to score when they had Cade. Again, for the 3rd time, I think it's a shame to see that Cade Cunningham, is out. And I also think it's a shame that he's not going to get any of the awards. Again, this is one of the best players we've seen all season. Wherever you want to rank him in terms of 1 through 10 in the MVP voting, he was at least top 10. We do need to change the rule. I think I was for the rule, the 65 game rule being fair. Guys like Cade, if you have a suffered lung, that's not you just not playing. That's you literally can't play. And all season, we've been seeing guys like Wemby, for one. Nikola Jokic, he has 1 more game to miss before he's ineligible for any of the awards. And that was due to a hyperextended knee. He couldn't play. There's, guys that miss games, a lot of games, and now they're in danger of missing their awards because of them simply not being able to play. And there's a lot of guys that we set this rule for that weren't playing, like Kawhi Leonard. Although Kawhi, I think, what is a weird case because he was injured a lot. He's a super weird case from a lot of different players. But I do believe guys like Kawhi, Joel Embiid, Ben Simmons, even, there was a lot of guys that weren't necessarily like playing. Again, we come to find out that a lot of those guys just had injuries too. So it's kind of hard to like determine how you change this rule, how you make this rule fair. But I do think there needs to be a change, because we can't have a guy like Cade Cunningham not make an All-NBA team. We can't have a guy like Nikola Jokic not make an All-NBA team. Giannis is not making an All-NBA team, even though as of late he hasn't been playing like many games, so I think it's more so fair for him not to make an All-NBA team. But there's been a bunch of other guys that are like endangered of not making an All-NBA team when they've been playing some of their best basketball they've played in their career. So I think it's kind of unfair that those guys are being slighted because they can't reach that 65 game mark when they're physically not able to. And then some guys are going to play regardless and then get themselves injured. I think we need to create a balance of how to still give these guys awards, how to make sure these guys are still playing, and not penalize them for, not playing when they're injured. Because this pace of play is completely different from what it was in the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. Like, a lot of players do like to say that we used to play no matter what. We used to play through injuries. I mean, sure, like, no discredit to them. I'm sure they did all of that. But at the same time, they've never played in a pace of play where you're running up and down the floor constantly. I mean, these guys have to run up and down the floor constantly because they shoot up a lot more threes. The offense is completely different. They're running faster plays. So you have to be physically in shape in order to do that. And a lot of guys can't take that wear and tear of running up and down the floor. The constant just running, I think, is the biggest issue why like guys are getting injured more, because the pace of play is so much faster. Cade might not make All NBA, which is crazy to say, because Cade to me has been one of the standout superstars in this league this year. Hopefully Cade rests up. Hopefully we can see him before he misses that mark, that 65 game mark. But ultimately, I just want to see him healthy and ready for the playoffs. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead, subscribe, like the video, share the video with a friend. And until next time, guys, I'll see y'all later. Milos out. Peace.